Welcome everybody to the Jury Roundtable. As resident plant daddy of this greenhouse, we will be moderating today.
So the new juror is coming.
The new juror is about to come into the door. We have no idea who it is. We have no idea who won power, who is even nominated.
Are we allowed to take a vote on who we think it is before they walk in?
Yeah.
Let's take a vote.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's
so we
take a
did
vote.
hear that Kiara was green thumb. But I think if they're smart enough, they'll keep her in because she's always be targeted.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lee L is walking through that.
I also would say that.
Out of who's left, I think it's probably Leo as well.
I'm gonna say Kiara, and I hope I'm wrong.
You said Kiara did play the green thumb?
She
No,
was
she
green
won
thumb.
and she got
She
green
won
thumb. Sean
it.
green thumb.
Okay.
No, she was. It was taken. Like her greenhouse was taken.
Her greenhouse
from
was
her.
taken by
I
Sean.
see. I'm gonna go. I might go with Kiara as well.
It could
That's a-
be.
that's a
I just
Sean
think
likely
if they're
also.
playing a smart game, they leave her in there because she's
Right.
got nobody.
No! Oh yeah.
I won first place.
Damn.
And then Sean used the green thumb for, of course, his own safety, respectful.
Mhm.
But now look what happened. Therefore, from there, Matthew had 2 seeds because he made it in the greenhouse. I didn't get nominated first initially.
Oh.
Who were the original
So
noms?
the original
Whoa.
noms were Lee and Dee Dee.
Oh.
Oh.
Who nominated Dee Dee?
Ooh.
Sean
Sean.
nominated Dee Dee.
Crazy.
Matthew had 3 seeds
Mhm.
and bid on Uproot. And I tried to have a conversation of swaying him, like, hey, you can keep me. Like, if you don't use it, you still have your number 1 ally, from my understanding, was Lee, was his number 1. But he didn't take Lee down. He took Dee Dee
Of
down.
course, he's
off
playing
the
Dee Dee's
block.
game.
So he took Dee Dee down. He wanted to place his own game and not Sean's, and he was upset that, or made the decision because Sean pitched the idea originally of him not using the uproot, and so he was like, if I do that, that's not me playing my game. So then he took down Dee Dee, and not his ally.
Why would Matthew, who's not on the block, waste 3 seeds?
He did. He took down Dee Dee.
But for
But
like
why?
why? That's just
Why?
wasting
It
his
feels
seeds and his
like a-
armory
Yeah.
to the game.
Who thinks he can continue to string her along?
It feels like a charade.
So he's getting
Like,
strung along,
yeah.
and he thinks he's stringing along.
That's how
And he
out of
didn't
touch
wanna-
he is
With this game.
Game,
Yes.
yeah.
And he didn't
Has
wanna
3
listen
seeds
to us.
and lays it on Dee Dee when
At
he's not
this-
even on the
at
block?
top
He did
6?
not want to listen to us when we said that to him.
Yeah.
We told him doing that, doing that, it was not good for his game. It was much better to just keep us and to let Dee Dee go here.
His aspirations
He
must
didn't
just be to
want
make it to the end. He
Okay,
doesn't care
so-
how or
He
what
doesn't.
he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he
Wait,
thinks he
he's
can
trying
win
to
against
place
her
the
because I
final.
don't know that.
Because I will say, when you left, yes,
Me.
Dee
Play
Dee
that.
and Matthew started linking up and having conversations. And that's when I started telling everyone, I was like, look, we need to get the floaters with us because I know that Dee Dee is rounding everyone up and we are going to get fucked. And guess where we are now?
But the
Never
thing
all.
that is so interesting is that the people that were able to swing Dee Dee to their side are the people that tried to get her voted out. And when she ultimately sees that she's almost voted out, it wakes her up, understandably so. And she instead wants to work with the people now who tried to vote her out rather than the people who rallied hard. And I can't help but thinking, and this could be a very main character syndrome for us, more of like I don't know, just maybe it's even bitter. But I think I can speak for us and say that we all had a very strong day 1 in this game. And I feel like some of the theatrics that I'm seeing now almost feels like an overcompensating for people that didn't have a very big day 1.
Whoa, that's a huge point.
And it's like, because
Mhm.
our games, I think everyone here can say that they played games that you could identify things that they did. And we've been struggling, at least from what I'm seeing, to understand a lot of the games that what we're seeing because we aren't playing closely with these people.
Yeah.
Which in some ways can be just a fault to us because we kind of alienated ourselves from them and vice versa at a certain point once
Yeah.
we decided how we wanted to play. But I think it does seem like, for example, Matthew doing this, it feels theatrical.
Yeah.
And it feels like I want to do something that people can see.
Yeah. It's like, no, y'all were always sending you home, so all you did was waste your own seeds to make Dee Dee look better.
Alright, so now that we're starting to dive into these people individually, let's take some time and actually digest each person's individual game. Well, let's start with Dee Dee, because we've been highlighting Dee Dee a lot here, and we think she's playing the best game. So what kind of qualities do we see in Dee Dee? Do we see any faults? From my own view here, I think she's playing the best game because I think she's stringing along Matthew. I think she's probably getting Lee to string along as well.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think these other people think they can bring her to the finale, but some of us knowing how she is in a finale is the dumbest thing you can do, because she will dog walk whoever she is sitting next to in a final 3. That woman's going to win.
I think the shortcoming of Dee Dee, though, is, and this is going to be a results-oriented approach, is like if she walks through the door next, then it's easy to say, oh, maybe you picked the wrong side.
Yeah.
But I think that is a very results-oriented approach. Like maybe she picked the very right side because maybe she realized that she was on a side of things that she couldn't control.
Yeah.
That she was on a side of things that was trying to control her.
Right.
And so if it works out for her, it's like a great success. If it doesn't work out, it was a big mistake.
Right.
But it's like, so that in one hand could be a fault of her, but I can't say it is a fault.
Let's talk about Ben. What do we think of Ben's game? What do we like? What do we not like? What kind of game do we think he's playing here?
There are people that are making moves in silence, and y'all are just not
Absolutely.
listening.
Say it louder.
And I think that Ben, he was playing all of us.
Absolutely.
And I truly would give like his game a 10 out of 10 if I'm being
I
completely
agree.
honest. Like
he flat out told me he voted for me and was able to build a working relationship with me after that.
mhm.
Don't get me wrong, he was kind of at an arm's reach, but it was still, I trusted him to an extent to get to day 2. And that was obviously wrong because didn't make it to day 2.
I struggle to find many mistakes in his game. I think maybe one thing that I could say is, and this is cool too, is I think maybe he struggled socially in the early part of the game because I think that he was an easy name to throw out. I think that people looked at him, at least in the early part of the game, and the conversations that I had was Ben was someone who was like an easy soldier to have on your side, but you know, he was a big part of the early Venus flytrap, and so keeping him around, it was kind of a shield. It was like, we can get rid of him at some point. He is disposable. But you have to credit his relationships in order to get seeds, not once, but twice to uproot. You know, the first time it made more sense because he had a bunch of people that went in with this plan. But the second time, he really, I think, had to work that by himself. And I'm way more impressed by that because I don't think any of us saw that coming, where he was going to be able to pull that off twice in a row and now put himself into a phase of the game where has Ben even been talked about for nominations
Not for a
ever
while.
since he escaped that?
And just
He hasn't.
I was gonna like make a point that Ben was nobody's number 1, but we all thought I could use him at some
Oh,
point, so
for
I'm
sure.
just gonna leave him here. And he knew that, and he used that to his advantage.
He's gonna be nobody's number 1 and find himself in the finale.
Mhm.
And that's honestly probably the most
Yeah.
impressive.
That's really impressive.
And he did it, he was very unassuming the way that he played. Like, he was not an in-your-face player in the sense of, you know, he really made you feel good. Like, even when he was uprooting right at the time of my elimination, like, you could tell, like, there was like a human emotion. Like, he was just like, I'm sorry, like, I know that, like, this puts you in a bad spot. But
Very
like,
good.
how can you fault the person who, like, you're there because they were just like saving themselves? Like,
Absolutely.
he wasn't really in a lot of early power to make enemies,
Yeah.
and so he's just this person saving himself when we're applying pressure to him constantly.
Let's go on to Lee. Lee L. Let's talk about his game. Some highlights, some downfalls. What do we think?
He made this big move of the move me and Noah tried working with him. He ended up giving the uproot to Matthew instead of me. And that was good for his game. I mean, I'm sitting here and he's not.
He's got some greenhouse competitions under his
does.
like, you know, like, I mean, I think that is still to his credit, but
Yeah.
yes, they're not necessarily super memorable.
No.
So it's like, yes, what if you can win competitions and you can put yourself in power, but what are you doing with it that's affecting
That's
the
what I'm
game?
saying.
I-
That's what I'm going with. Like, yes, he was there.
I
then
actually
what?
have something strong. I think
Okay, go for it.
one time that I was and one time I was in the greenhouse. You were in the greenhouse. You were in the greenhouse. Noah was in the greenhouse, and Lee was in the greenhouse, and we all pretty consistently wanted to target Matthew. And the only thing Lee says is, "I don't want to do that," and we drop it immediately. We drop it immediately, and if this is because he has this really good relationship with Matthew, that I think that is good gameplay.
Yeah.
It may not be visible, it may not be right out in front, and it may not be a lot of stuff that we can note, but like for me personally, I keep coming back to that. Like we've rehashed a lot of conversations where I've come back to that moment and I'm like, he did something there. Like he did more
Yeah.
than I think he was doing in the moment there.
Mm-hmm.
If he was able to protect the person that meant the most to him,
And now,
Right.
like exactly.
Like when he put me up, he said, "It's because you lied to me." And so that right there, it was the loyalty.
Yeah.
So I do agree that he was very loyal, and he didn't vote me out to go home, you know? They literally kept him out of the vote, and he voted against Noah.
Yeah.
So to me, that just like shows your cards, you know, like.
I think for me, it's that he kept saying that I need to wake up. Like, I need to get into this game.
Yeah.
And for me, saying that in the game, in front of people that will be jurors, like, that's just discrediting your own game. You're telling me you haven't done anything, and you believe that. So how are we going to believe
Yeah,
that?
that's a good
We'll
point.
get him to come and pitch it.
Yeah.
I want to focus on the aspect of catching up. I'm sorry, but I came in this game to play and to put in work, and I think it's absolute bullshit that you wait till the top 9 to start making moves when I've been stressing myself out, trying to make moves, and trying to do something that's game-worthy, that's worth of winning. And I don't think if you're here to play from day one, then why should you deserve to win? It doesn't make any sense to me. And that's my personal aspect because I am one that values hard work. One that values from day one putting in the work to earn that win because that's what we're here to do at the end of the day. I do think Lee has made smart moves, and I know he's the one that got me out, and that's not the reason I'm saying it. But at the end of the day, like we talked about earlier, Matthew playing catch-up as well. I like someone who goes, I got a plan from day one, and this is how I'm going to execute it, and this is how I'm going to reach the end, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Let's pivot and talk about Sean next. Let's talk about Sean's game a little bit and what we see in his game.
Yeah, I mean, when I got voted out, I spoke to everyone and I was like, if you keep this man, he's going to beat all of you. And I will stand by that. I will not be surprised if he is in the final 3. Sean was playing the middle and he felt untouchable. And you know what? Everybody was like, yep, all right, sounds good. And I think that with Dee Dee and Sean, I also think that they both recognize that in each other. Just thinking about who's left in the house, I do think that Sean is playing a great game.
For me personally, I hadn't seen him doing much. While I was in the game, I didn't see him being a super active participant in any decision making, in any moves being made, and I thought he was a floater. So to hear that he could win this game was quite a shock to me. I was like, I don't see personally anything. He would have to explain behind the scenes things because I didn't see anything visible that led me to say, yeah, this man can win.
He definitely held some power yesterday. Even I mean, he was putting himself out there to have to make enemies early on. I think that his game didn't switch into a middling like rat game until probably today. I think that he played pretty loyal to people. Like I felt like his work was trustworthy.
It's like he was playing round by round and was staying loyal to the people that would help him in each round.
Which is fair.
Yeah,
It's
because
fair.
he was telling John Michael about this alliance and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's again when I was like, hey guys, and no red flags seemed to go off, but it's probably because he was playing with them in that round. But he would just play round by round. And that might have been my problem. That might have been my demise because I was thinking about the end.
It is a huge testament, in my opinion, though, that he is able to get called out the way that you did, and people still don't touch him. I think that, like, when you do that, and you're speaking, like, on behalf of someone who's about to go to jury, even though you didn't know you were going to go to jury at the time, the fact that that is now representing what a jury opinion is, and people are still not wanting to touch him, it feels just as dangerous as, like, what we talk about with the DD game. Maybe we don't see it as much, but we've made the comparison already. I see a lot of similarities between Sean's game and DD's game. I just think that we know a little bit more about DD and how she plays.
Yeah.
That we don't recognize it yet. Very true.
I like what you said about they know Didi because Didi's played these games before. I feel like he may play a similar game to Didi. So I think So I feel like once, if he's in the final 3 or final 2, we hear his spiel, I think that could give us valuable information.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about our final person still left in the game, Matthew.
I knew coming into this game, because I played with Matthew on online games, that he is a dangerous person to play a game with. He knows the steps, he knows the path. If y'all remember Edmund from Season 3, he's good friends with Edmund. So I knew coming into this that he was a humongous target. But I will say I'm surprised, though, because I was expecting more, and I was expecting better. And what I am seeing as we go through this game, at least from my viewpoint, he could have a different opinion. I'm seeing more riding of the coattails than anything. I'm seeing that he's close with Didi, awesome, but I don't know if he's making the decisions. I think he's just trying to make it to the end. And if that's not the case, I hope he can explain what his motive was, what decisions that he headed, and maybe that'll give me a different opinion. So
The round that I left, there he and Ben orchestrated something to possibly keep me and send Didi out there.
Mm-hmm.
But when it didn't work out, was it a pivot that he then roped Didi in and said, "Let me work with you here"? Maybe, and that could be out of preservation. However, at this point, keeping work with her might be a detriment. So I feel like the move is good and bad. It's good at the moment to continue to stay in this game, but bad that you might have just picked the wrong person to pivot to.
yeah.
I was just going to say, I feel like if I could compare his game to anything, it's kind of like that of a parasite. I think that he watched a lot of the game happen yesterday, and I think that he was in enough conversations that, like, people felt good. I obviously knew who he was, like you, and I think there is this fear of, like, you don't want to make that sort of an enemy. And so you're making sure of, like, when I'm in power, you're fine. I don't want you to think that you're anything but fine, so that you will then be good to me. But I felt like as he started to see, like, some of the larger animals fall, like the parasite still survives and it just goes off to another larger animal to feed off of. And that kind of feels like, for me, I think he's played the game more in the shadows probably than anyone else. I respect that kind of game. I worry for him particularly. That is the hardest game to sell because you have to really come prepared with how to organize the talk about your game. Because the thing about this, and exactly what we're doing now, is jurors try to piece things together. And if you are doing things in a way that's like you can't connect the dots better than they could, that's really hard, because to tell the jurors, hey, what you think happened is not what happened, but it doesn't make sense.
We have no reason to lie to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
we have no
exactly.
reason.
We're
So
out of the game.
I think for me, what I need from Matthew is like a truth bomb. Like, I need a shock. I need like this is something only I knew, or like only me and Lee, because they're good allies. I need something that's just like gonna put my jaw on the floor from Matthew, and like have a good, like, organized, because he can get my vote, but I just need something like that to happen, because it is a game worthy of respect. It is probably the hardest to defend.
I definitely think that if there's ever a Greenhouse Vendettas, we will be on it together. I think that Matthew, personally for me, but piggyback, it's a very messy game. Things aren't lining up. I also,
Very murky waters.
to me, it's like I feel like he just wanted to get to the finale and that's it.
And then figure out what happens there.
But I just don't think I don't think he wanted to win. I just think he wanted to get there.
I see.
And I feel like I was playing I had Matthew's back and we were having open conversations, when he got the green thumb, like he wasn't going to put me up. But I just think that Matthew played a very messy game, and I think it would take a lot to get me to vote him to win. But yeah, I just think that I feel like Dee and Sean, like whoever he's paired up with in this game, they're letting him do the messy work. But I agree. Like, I just don't think, I think it would have benefited him to look at the bigger picture. And it's just like he was so stuck on what was happening in the moment. And I was like, you have to play 2 games. And I told him this multiple times. I was like, you have to play 2 games.
Which is crazy because this man hosts a podcast where they recap the show. He analyzes weekly episodes of this show as they're released. You analyze this game weekly, and you don't see what is a very big picture of most seasons to look at the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was analyzing the wrong parts.
Yeah.
But I just think that because before I was going up, when he said it was going to be you and Noah, I was like, I asked him, I said, who do you think that you can sit next to and win? I was like, you have to think about that.
Yeah.
And also, too, where do you think you stand on this totem pole with the other side of the house? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I'm not thinking that far ahead. That's your problem right there.
Yeah.
And they know that, though. I can't point out the good parts of his game because I honestly don't believe that they were his moves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you said coattails, and I do think that he's coasting and hoping that trying to make it just to the finale and hoping he can talk his way out of it. But I think us as a jury and whoever else comes in, because everyone who in there is, I think, can see right through that.
Yeah.
I do have to respect, like, if he sees his game as, like, I just have to get there. I don't care how I get there, but if I get there, I have the thing. Like, I want to believe he has the thing.
To me, it's not enough to just make it to finale.
Yeah.
Like, that's not enough. And who are you sitting next to?
Yeah.
Who do you leave in?
So
To where you have to make the decision who you're
but he
sitting
wasn't
next
thinking
to.
that. I don't think he
I
had
don't
that
think
in
so
his
either.
thought at all
I
because
don't think he cares who he's sitting next to.
No.
He just wants to be there, and he thinks that is going
enough to get votes, and it's not.
It's not.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And you know what? And, like, it is respectful. I do respect all gameplays because especially because I feel like I didn't have the most powerful gameplay. I think my game was mostly social, and I would hope that, like, a jury could see that and still vote for me to win in that situation if that were to happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, I think we're about to get our next juror here in the jury house. Let's first take a guess. Who do we think we're about to see walk in the door with zero information on who was in the greenhouse, who was just purely off of vibes, who we think's coming in next?
To me, I feel like Dee and Sean are going to try and control Matthew and Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be either one of them. And for some reason, because of the relationship that Matthew has with Dee and Lee has with Matthew, I think it's going to be Sean.
Interesting. I could see it being Sean.
I think Ben stays too. Yeah.
I think Ben stays here.
I think Ben stays.
I think Ben stays. I think if they were smart, it would be Dee. But I do agree with you. I think it's Sean.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably Sean.
Yeah.
I think it's
Maybe
Dee.
Lee.
I think it's Dee.
If they see it, but I don't know if they do.
I think it's
I
Dee.
couldn't.
I'm gonna go opposite and just go with Lee and see how it
so
is.
that was my first thought.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just go with it. It was my first thought so I'm gonna just go with that.
All right. Here we go. Our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th juror is...
No!
And let me tell you, it's my fault because
Come in the frame, please. Come here.
I
Look, you want to sit here?
Oh my god, I'm devastated.
Move all this out of the way.
the challenge.
Wig.
First of all, I'm fucking mad.
All right, Miss Dee, you have just entered the jury house to the shock of most of the jurors right
and
here.
myself.
Oh, so let's hear about it. Let's start from the greenhouse challenge. Tell us the rundown of what happened this round.
The challenge was, of course, about the game. 19 questions, graded by accuracy and then timing. And when I tell you that my mind went blank, like, anyway, my mind went blank. I could not think of anyone's name. Mickey was in the room. Could I think of Mickey's name? No. I couldn't think of anyone's fucking name. So I, like, literally was writing down. One of the questions was, who didn't show up? Who didn't show up? And then I completely, who did the second Venus flytrap? I'm like, Lee. I wrote Ben. Like, I just, wow. I'm so it is my fault that I am sitting here. I can blame no one but myself. Except I had a final two that was just.
With who?
I had a final two. Anyone want to guess before I say it?
Matthew.
Anyone else? Matthew.
It's fine. We were just
I never had any alliance with Sean.
Damn. Okay.
Zero.
Well, you had one.
Well, the 8.
You had the 8.
The 8.
Well, yes.
Yes.
The loose eight. The cooperative 8.
That's what we literally. That's what it was literally.
Because it was really not a true.
The communication.
It was a mutual agreement to vote together more than a true alliance.
Yeah.
It really was.
And
How
out
many
of all
us
the
are
jurors, I'm the only one that's not in it,
Part of
and
that.
the other people that are not in it are still in the game.
Okay, so I had a seed, and Matthew had 2 seeds, Ben had 2 seeds, and Lee had 2 seeds. And so, if I would have known that fucker was going to screw me, I had the potential.
Which
If I would have known Matthew was going to screw me, I could have potentially talked with Lee and said, let's uproot, but I still think they would have backstabbed me. So now that I'm thinking that through, even if I would have given him a seed to uproot, I don't know. And so they nominated Lee so he would get a seed. And of course, then nominated Matthew. So he didn't get a seed, but he had 2 seeds. And so the plan was, Matthew had 3. So between the 2 of us, we had 4. So our plan was final 2.
Yep.
You know, and we wanted it to be iconic, the first season ever to have a final 2, all of those things. But they ended up swaying Matthew, saying, if you uproot, basically, why would you bring Dee Dee? Why would you do that? And he put me over. And he told me, and then, and he wouldn't look me in the eye and tell me he was doing it. And then I tried in my speech to say, and this is what I feel, and everyone plays their game differently. Everyone lies, everyone misleads. Even if you don't lie, you withhold truth, right? And you don't have to play like me. And I'm not saying I never lie, but I try not to. I try to withhold the truth, or I tell you what I want you to know. I try to not directly lie in someone's face. When it gets this close, I feel that's when your character integrity come in, where this is the time to be honest. And to be that backstabbing at this stage of the game, to me means that is character and integrity of the game. And I made it clear, I did not mean that outside of the game. This is ultimately a game. You play you, but that lets me know what kind of you you play.
But
you know.
but it makes me wonder because I had a similar with Matthew. Like we were actually talking about Matthew right before you came in.
Absolutely.
Like before I left, he comes to me. He says, "I'm not going to vote you out." He said, "I told Sean that I am keeping him, and I lied to his face." What was the point of it? What was the
Like,
point?
he didn't have to do that. He went out of his way.
What
No,
was
he
the
did.
point?
And he was messy throughout the all. He would tell you things that he did not have to tell you while he was bringing you down.
Lying and cheating is part of the game, but there becomes a point where it's just like it's
You don't have to do
unnecessary.
it.
It's
Yeah.
unnecessary.
Like,
And also,
like
Right.
Matthew, like Matthew would
own
say,
it. Own
or
it.
that's what we're
Don't
talking about. It's like
hide
Matthew.
behind it.
Matthew
Right.
tells me, "Hey, we're good. Water under the bridge. I do not. If I'm not gonna use my green thumb on you, I win the next challenge. Uses the green thumb on me.
Yeah.
Then immediately says, "Hey, let's have a one-on-one." So he tells me, he's like, "I wasn't gonna use it on you, but I needed to get in the greenhouse." And
Then
it's
why
like,
not
I
say
think-
that
right,
to begin
but
with?
but he still didn't own it. He was like, "If you would have got first, I wouldn't have taken it from you. I would have taken it from Ben, who was second."
There,
It doesn't make. It's just
doesn't
like
make any
From my
just own your
perspective,
shit.
that he was trying to play jury management right there.
Yeah.
That's what it makes it sound like, but he's doing a piss poor job at it.
And that's also why this game is so incredible, because you can play it so many different ways and win, right?
Or lose
But
anyway.
and you can lose anyway, because the way the jury votes is we're gonna all vote how we think the game should be played,
I
and
think we're
and how
responsible.
you and a certain something you feel, you know, and that's the beauty of it, because you got to work it all, you
And it's
know.
lie, cheat, and steal all you want in the game, but at a certain point, you're taking it past game, and you're like, are you just trying to make me look silly?
Right,
The-
right.
At that point, what are we doing here?
Especially once you're at the point where you're voting out jurors, like once you're at the final vote conversation, nothing else can be done. Nothing else can be done to like change it up. So there's no reason
To be
to-
so mad.
to-
for no reason.
And-
withhold the information, but don't say I'm not voting you out and then do it. That feels
Right,
weird.
that- I will not do that.
So we've been talking about the other people still in the greenhouse. So let's get your thoughts on the 4 people still in very quickly
Okay.
of each of the 4.
Okay, so first, another full disclosure, my final 2 was with Matthew, but we had a final 4, which was really more of a final 3. How funny. Lee was, for me, it was Matthew and me, then Lee, then Ben, and then Sean, okay? So I'm going to start with Sean. He, in my opinion, right now, unless someone changes my mind, if he is in the final 2 or 3, he's getting my vote. And the reason why he's getting my vote is not, I am mad, but it's not spite. But for me to get this far and him, because he would come and we'd go back, and he worked both sides. He was sketchy. He showed himself. We knew he was sketchy. He nominated me more than once. He never misled. He was willing to wheel and deal. And so for him to be right there, he's got my vote. I had 1 seat. I left it to him when I left.
Oh.
I feel that strongly. Because for the other ones to work me to my face while they were supposed to be working with me, they don't get my vote. For someone who's not working with me to, like in a final alliance, but to still work with me some, but then do what he had to do for his game, I respect that more.
What else are you most likely to consider?
If I would not vote for Sean,
Like let's say you got 4 in jury.
and he got 4th in theory, I honestly don't know, because I don't want to vote out of spite. I really don't. I am not in a feel-good moment, and not out of spite, but just because, damn. Because he's going to get up here and say that he played the game and it was all him. It was not. I'm telling you, it's my game. He says there's things you don't know. Well, maybe, but there's a lot I do know, and I might be shocked when I watch the footage, but I played today. I fucking played. And maybe I'm going to watch this and laugh at myself because maybe I was getting played the whole time, but I'm telling you, it was me and Matthew together. If it wasn't just me, it was definitely us together. It was not him by himself.
Right.
Okay, so, and I would, oh yeah, please please keep me, please you. I do everything I gotta do. Y'all, my kids didn't get their acting skills from their daddy. I can make a face, I can cry, I can do whatever. I can make you feel some sort of way. I made it. He cried. He just, you know. I'm more likely to vote for Lee. I'm not going to vote for Ben. Ben was never. I honestly, in the final, when we got to like the final 4 and 5, I wanted Sean, not Ben. And Ben ultimately never. Ben was sketchy. He was quiet. I even told him at one time I thought he was standoffish, and I said, I think it's because you're shy, but I think it's because he was sketchy. He was standoffish. You know, I like him, great guy, but I never got the warm and fuzzies. I never trusted him. I never felt that he had my best interest at heart.
But every time he was nominated, he was able to find 10 seats for a fly trap or 8 seats for a
he played a good game, and he did all that to protect himself.
And nobody trusted him, and he was still able to get.
He was.
I think
he was.
We talked earlier about being able to move in silence, but still make the moves.
And he did.
And
I am. Oh, that sounds. That sounds valid.
I think we all have our own questions that we have in mind of like how we need to pointedly ask these finalists what they did in this game and how they did it. And I think we need to be open and honest with our questions, making them know like we need this information because y'all aren't just off the chopping block. Like your vote is for sale right now.
Do we all get to ask a question?
Absolutely. So
does the question have to be to everybody, or can it be a?
It can be pointed. It can be pointed, but they can rebuttal. Yes, it can be either or, and they can also rebuttal. So I think we have a lot that we've discussed, and I think we have enough information to really move forward with specific questions. I think each of us has something that we want to talk about here. So with that, let's go find out what the Final Four ended up doing and what our finale looks like.